Quick greetings and welcome to another video. Um, this video, we're just going to look at a few videos and we're going to end up watching the latest video from Miss Anna von Reitz. I think this is going to be like a part 3 to rediscovering and redefining sovereignty in Indians' perspective. Um, I've my my mood has been a little off, and so approaching this video is a bit of a chore right now. But what makes it more of a chore is just the realization that I think we as American Indians coming into our own, I don't know that we are understanding the power that we have. I want to say that it speaks to the mass programming of the corporation to have us think that there is no life and there is no living unless it's under the corporation. Now, the interesting thing is the corporation is a dead entity. If anything, there's no living within the corporation. It cannot deal with living, breathing men and women of the land. But what I think I'm seeing is we 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 have the knowledge of ourselves as Indians, and it is like it's just one of the greatest things to happen on this landmass. But we still have a slave mentality when it comes to how we view the federal corporation. We really have been conditioned to be afraid. And I speak from personal experience as well. And the corporation knows when it's intimidating us, But what we should know as indigenous is that we've always been intimidated by the federal corporation. That is how we started calling ourselves Black. I really would love to see a video that lays out how we were threatened physically if we did not. It was like in the scene of Roots when Kunta Kinte is being beaten to take the name Toby. It's the same thing that happened to us in essence. It was under threat. And what I don't think our indigenous are understanding is You don't want to be under anything that has ever done that to you, ever. It was wrong back then. It was unconstitutional back then. And the entity hasn't changed. So when the ancestors come to awaken us and we find that we're still cowering to the federal corporation, we have to recognize that it's always been that way. And it never was supposed to, and it should never continue. Um, it's just a little disheartening to feel that you're the only one, who sees this. And the only reason why I'm able to see it is because, along with my genealogy, I began to learn about the federal corporation and how it operates. So that education that I got, which is an everyday thing, but after a while, you really start to get a general, overall picture of what's going on. And so it it's not that we are coming against the government. It's not that we're even committing any acts of terrorism. When we're going by our original Constitution, that is still a very lawful way to go about this. And that's all. If anyone has ever heard me speak, you know that I'm always talking about particularly the first Constitution. So I'm not looking to overthrow any government. But as I said before, we do need to distinguish when a government has turned into a corporation and the men and women of the land are no longer the bottom line. So, a note to those who would attempt to say that a video like this is anti-government. No, it's not. I'm using the Constitution. I'm using the Constitution. Um, I'm using the Constitution, and particularly where the Constitution says that Indians are not taxed, because Indians are not supposed to be in the federal. So my question is, why would we insist on being a part of it when we were never supposed to be a part of it? Are we moving back to what we were first, or are we going deeper into a corporation that has already made itself and made its intentions known to us, as particularly as American Indians? This corporation found it a financial advantage to misclassify American Indians as Black, colored, Negro, and finally African American. What business do we have with this corporation? What is it that we think it has for us besides a bounty on our heads, practically? And how is that? That is how is it almost like having a bounty? Because I'm not talking random. I'm not talking theory. I'm talking George Floyd. Any man of color who is an American Indian who was misclassified as colored might as well have a be a walking bounty target when you're not protected by the Constitution that you helped to write. You may as well have a bounty on your head. When you are put in the prison system, that's dollars. So that's somebody's getting paid. So how do we, at this time, with all the knowledge we have, how can we see that the way to go is to intertwine and quote unquote work with and be part of the federal system, the federal corporation as Indians? Now, remember, we're not supposed to be part of it, right? So, am I saying something wrong? No, I'm not. If anything, what I'm saying is we need to go forward. That's all I'm saying. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. Let's do it the way the ancestors would be proud of. If the ancestors see that we are just reworking some kind of same old thing, with a little more recognition, but we still basically treated like citizens because we're still under the authority of Congress. And in the last video, we saw that Congress has plenary authority over Indians. So they're approaching us not like the Indians we were before we were colonized. They're approaching us as I'm your daddy. Daddy's in the house. Don't mind that daddy's from a whole other continent. Don't mind that. You do as I say, or else. And my daring question is, or else what? If I was here on this landmass, and I was, this is my bloodline, what foreign entity, be it a king, a queen, a pope, a, a Jesuit, whatever, a Moor, because that's what they all are. That's where they all came from. I'm going to try not to go into a rant, and I always say that, and then I do. But I did say that every chance I got, I'm going to, what was it? Read that ass. That's what I said. That's what I said. So let's finish the thought. Um, what are you going to do that would not constitute crimes against indigenous people, which we are, and this government knew we were? That is why they needed to reclassify us. So that when they shoot us in the street like dogs, when they choke us out like George Floyd, there's no consequence. They did that to a indigenous, there would be consequence. Only if we're in our complete authority, not the half authority of, say, for instance, a federally recognized. Why do we want to be recognized by that? There is alternate ways where we will still be on top. All we have to do is look for them. Right now, all we know is the corporation. We haven't really looked at alternate ways of doing the same thing without a daddy figure. That is not our daddy. Now, it would be different if it was our dad. It would be different. How in hell are we going to give this fucking corporation the upper hand? As we speak, we're being, what is it? What do they call it? When you black out something? Uh, like as much noise as we are making, people like Dan Calloway, uh, you know, anyone who's on doing YouTube videos and have many subscribers, unlike myself. But I'm a humble American Indian. I'm all right with it. Truly, I am. But I still need to do my little part. And like I told you, I got my little Leo thing going on inside. So I know it's all as it should be. Um, I think that's the energy that brings me to the video. The more that energy, the fire, the Leo, the Mercury in Leo, the Venus and the Mercury in Leo. You know, I'm just, I'm pretty much uh, a little bit fascinated by it. Um, I just found it explained, like I said, it explains some of the 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 workings that I didn't understand about myself, um, and now I understand. I understand, you know, that authority element, which which someone like me, I didn't even, never saw myself that way. But the energy is there, and so I'm grateful, as I said, for the makeup and how it has come to me as a kind of a pleasant surprise. Um, I was told uh, many years ago. It was when I was having a hard time being a Christian. I was having a hard time. Just things that seemed overly harsh and overly uh, final judgment sort of thing going on. I was having such a hard time. And it's so funny now because I look back on it and it's like, why was I putting myself through that? You know, it was so, at one point, so alone. You know, I would end up meeting groups of Christians that at one point they were asking me, it was like it's just this renegade group of mostly young people. And they had like a brownstone right off of 12th Street or West Highway in the somewhere between 42nd Street, maybe in 40. Hmm, was it above 42nd? Yeah, it was above 42nd Street, I believe. It was maybe 50, maybe in the 50. And they wanted me to move in, they had like I don't even know, it was like a brownstone. And it's like they took in strays. And at the time, I just knew that I couldn't. And they took it as, well, then you're not following the Lord. I couldn't leave my home. I couldn't leave we had already lost my father. I was the oldest son, am the oldest son. And it was the most excruciating time of my quote unquote Christian life. It was all the guilt, you know, in in other situations as well, in other areas, being a sinner, um, it was horrible. It was horrible. I was no more than 25. I was less than 25. And I was being made guilty because I didn't leave my home and that I wasn't fit. Basically was the message to follow Christ. Living with a bunch of strangers that I don't know in some kind of like hostile situation with a bunch of young people I didn't know. And it was like a group of like, I don't know what you call them, Christian brothers. But they were not much older, they were, and they were literally running this show. Um, so glad that never happened. So glad that didn't happen. Um, but anyway, um, why I brought that up. But okay, we can see I'm kind of going in. I was told a little after that time by a brother Walker was his name. Um, he was probably one of the most sincere or sincerest Christians. Uh, and he was an elder, and he was so desperate, I want to say, in a respectful way, to bear fruit like I would have been the fruit that he's bearing for Jesus. So he like took me under his wing. Um, and it's a part of you that, you want to make him proud in some way. He was like a father figure, or maybe even like a grandfather figure. But I remember this brother just, trying to take me under his wing. I remember when we got baptized, and I was a younger dude. Uh, and it was just so odd because he was so. I just remember us undressing, uh, and I thought it was so odd that here I am, this Christian brother preparing to. It was a baptism, So you had to take off your clothes and put on like clothes that you could be dunked in the water with. And there he was, and there I was. It was just so strange. It felt, in other words, it was like he was just so uh dedicated, you know, to being almost like a shepherd, I guess. But I bring this up to say, as I found myself trying to live this Christian life, another memory I have is I was we had Bible study, and there was an older Caucasian gentleman, also grandfatherly. Now, Brother Walker he was a man of color, but he was like a Geechee. He's very fair skinned. He actually reminded me of what I remember of my grandfather. Uh, my grandfather he was rather pale. um, but my grandmother now, she, definitely full blood there. And he probably was too. He would have been called a mulatto on my paternal side. But I remember one time in Bible study, I just became where I wanted to impress the Bible study leader. I'm going all off topic, y'all. Forgive me. It's going to be a long ass video. I'm sorry. Um, but anyway, I just was trying to impress him and answer all the Bible questions after we did the Bible study. And I just recall distinctly, and he was annoyed with me. It's like everything you did, it just you it just wasn't working for me. I was already having issues with what I felt were a very stagnant and harsh judgments, you know. And so to be in that setting alone and feeling, when you would go into these churches, they expected you to perform, and that was not happening. I could never do the whole performance, the jumping, the running, the tossing, the rolling, on the floor, the passing out. I was raised Catholic, and it was just completely foreign to me. Now, I'm not saying that the Catholic Church is not the devil's church on earth. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I was not used to all of that drama. I was not. It just was like, what is going on here? It just what so uh so I try to impress in other ways, with like say with the Bible study. And there I was, I was all on fire or trying to be so that these people would see that I was sincere. And I was, as much as I could, with all the uh, question marks I had and all the uncertainty I had about, again, kind of just being on my own. Like my mother wasn't, I told you about my mother. She wasn't a church lady. Mm-mm. Thank God. Um, my brothers were younger, and they were, one was way too young, and the other one was in his own, world. I was kind of becoming a loner, I think. So there I was, in these buildings by myself, trying, and that's where my sincerity really, I would venture out and try to be part of it, but I couldn't. I couldn't. Every time I tried, I would. it would it would come to a crashing end, and I wouldn't even realize that it was coming to an end. But the pattern kind of was there, the pattern was there, you know. So there I was trying to impress him. I was raising my hand. He wouldn't call on me. It was just trauma. It was just all trauma in a very just Christian family setting, which made it even worse. So that was that. Um, just the feeling that uh you had to perform, you had to show evidence of the spirit, and you had to talk in tongues or something. You had to do something. And I constantly. So in the midst of all of that, that's why it was kind of shocking to me when Brother Walker, if of all of them, I still have a heart for Brother Walker. And I'm pretty sure that he's gone on to what he would call glory. Um, and that's, it's a little sad, because he he said something to me that has stayed in my head, especially now during the awakening. Brother Walker said that, oh man, it's um mm, he was in spite of the trying times, I was still hoping to impress Brother Walker, um, because he was so sincere. You know, he was, and you could tell that he had a little drinking issue before his conversion, but it was all good. He was a beautiful man, and he said to me, he looked me with such a determination, and he said, "Brother, God's going to do some great things with you." Something to that effect. And I felt so good when he said that. But at the time, I was had so much doubt, because I didn't think I was. Yeah, it had started to occur to me that I don't think I'm staying. I could feel myself pulling out. I just, it was, it was, it started to become frightening. I don't know how to, no other way to put it. You're being pulled, and you're being asked to like not really be yourself. It's like you got to show us that you are saved. And for the life of me, what really bothered me, of all the other things that would bother me, was this idea that, well, if you don't, then there's possibly that you're not saved. And I thought, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that if you confess with your mouth and believe in your heart you are saved, you'll be saved, and then have someone do that, but then later on say something like, well, maybe you really wasn't saved. You're the one that told me I was. So this is your game, right?
If you're telling me something that you don't know, what am I supposed to think about you? I couldn't do Christianity. And I know people have different experiences, but I now see that it just was not meant to be whatsoever. And I am so good with that. The relationship I have now with the Most High is it would not be possible if I stayed in a Christian church. I know it. I've experienced miracles, and this was all way after leaving the Christian church, the born again and all of that, you know. Catholics too. Catholics too. That was just a lot of uh pomp and circumstance. I mean, it did make for touching memories, first confirmation and first communion and all the pageantry, But years later, when I learned the history of the Roman Catholic Church, learning that that is the mother, and I've said this in videos before, Catholic Church is mother. So the babies ain't got nothing on mom. She is the HNIC. And a lot of Christians don't realize you came from the Catholic Church, so you can't speak against her. You can. It doesn't change the fact that you're a product of her. And I'm just trying to really be real with this damn religion, man. So Brother Walker said something to me that in this awakening, I can say he was right. But it had nothing to do with being a Christian. That's the ironic part. Um, so all that talk. Sorry, I babbled. It's little stuff. Every Indian is not going to lead the colonizer's religion. Every Indian is not going to lead the colonizer's government. Uh, what can we do? So that's why I'm doing another video. March has been a busy month, man, and I don't know why. I guess it's the month of spring. It makes me think that when I take another break, it's probably going to be like months, because I don't think I've done this many videos since I started. And even when I started doing videos, it wasn't this many in a month. It was like maybe 3, the most. Uh, it and I'm telling y'all, it started with that Mongolian video. It put everything into perspective. The Re-Educated TV. I can always say, I'm sorry. Re-Educated TV. He set me straight with that. Clearing out who the Moors were. It's everything you need to indict the Moors. Everything. It's all in that video. Who were the Moors? I think is the name of the video. Who were the Mongols? It was, yeah, who were the Mongols? I think that's the name of it. And the brother just basically says every other nation on earth was started by the Moors. He completed my circle, you know, he did. And now I know why America stands alone. in terms of the one place where freedom is even a possibility, a thought, because all those other nations being created by the Moors were meant to be monarchies that oppress the people in some way or another, either a slow encroaching kind of domination, some kind of religious domination. You know, that's the world that the Moors create. Um, the exact opposite of what America was. And when we ask ourselves, well, when did America become this? That's when you have to look at Tom Murray. I know y'all don't, y'all say, oh God, there you go again. We need a real history. And I say it a lot, and I'll keep saying it. We need a real life history that meets the standard of it is like world renowned, it's real, it's bona fide, justified, ancient. Isn't that a song? That is Tom Murray. If that's why we want to grab onto the real life, most ancient. Sumeria is not that. They did a little hocus pocus and said that Sumeria is the oldest, but she's not. Her kingdom doesn't start till like 1,000 years after Tom Murray. But they gave her writing, gave her. I don't know that she made that writing at the time that they say she did. So Sumeria was given the accolade of writing without having a kingdom, uh, without having a kingdom. So she started writing, and with the writing, she didn't do anything for about, was it? Yeah, 1,000 years, almost over 1,000 years. She invented a wheel. She went from writing to inventing a wheel. And for this, she is the greatest. No, you're not great. You're not great. Your writing is very questionable. And you have one man vouching for that, Sitchin. Basically, everything is coming from him. He is interpreting, and he's the only one. Sumeria is so pseudo, but I don't even know how. I don't know how it did it, but I know it's just you say something a zillion million times, and then everybody's supposed to believe it. Sumeria is so pseudo. It is so pseudo. It's just something that they say to take away from uh, something having a uh, indigenous beginning. Okay, so oh, see, this doesn't keep a timer. Zoom doesn't let you know how long your video is, so that's why I go forever. I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know how long it is. I just don't know. So today we're going to continue talking about sovereignty, and I found some decent videos to help us uh, talk more about it. I have another video, but I think I'm going to have to not play the whole thing again because I've talked so much. So what I'll do is I want to end on her as much as we can, but I'm going to link it so hopefully you can watch the rest of it. We're going to continue the conversation on sovereignty, and I found a video where um, a white brother talks a little bit about, yeah, he's my brother, okay, because what he's talking, I'm totally vibing with it. So I find kinship with that more than I do with a Moor. Seriously. Seriously. You got to know your enemy, even when he looks like you, even when he looks like you, because that is the most lethal of your enemy, the one who looks like you. It's just a fact. And a lot of us are acting like it don't matter. It really, it matters so much because that's when you get hijacked more than you could ever be when it's by someone you least expect it. That is why the Moors have to be, you have to watch out for the Moors. Now, any Moors that are watching, how you doing? You know, I talk about you all the time. These like old frenemies. But just like you got your constituents you talk to with other Moors, my constituents are the American Indians. And like I said before, American Indians, you don't need to be rocking with the old dogs in the game. Why? Because you're the new thing. You're the new wonderful thing. You're the new awe. And that is just for you. The Moors had their turn. They're just an entity that's really on their way out once the American Indians take their place. It's not that it's a bad thing. They've had their, they had their glory. But what is very appalling to me is that they won't step aside to let us as American Indians take our place. Like, yo, stay in your lane. You're a Moor, right? If you didn't get us when you were popping and we didn't know we existed, you're not going to get us now that we know who we are. So if you're my brother, as you often y'all say you are or whatever, then show me the respect that I'm entitled to and step aside, do you, so that I can do me, because I am going to do me. The reason why the ancestors reserved us for this awakening is just for that. Not to have you come and try to take over with that old stuff. That's the stuff that got us reclassified in the first place. We're done. The Indians who know, not the ones who think, oh, we are family. No, 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 we're not. No, we're not. And they're not like the prodigal son. No, they're not. No, they're not. The prodigal son, when he came back, it was repentance. So that's how you would get back in. There's no such thing coming from the Moors. It's just more arrogance, more, I don't know, bravado, going deep into subjects just to show you know something about it when it doesn't have anything to do with anything really. Just to show. And it's not that impressive that you know all this stuff, right? All it does is show us that you're the one that's been hiding our history in the first place. Come on, you motherfucking clown. You motherfucking clown. If you're like that, just go with it, okay? But you have to get out the way when it comes to American Indians. Like most of us Indians will, we have to keep reminding ourselves, ain't nobody ever said we was a Moor. not in your family. If anything, it was always you a little Indian. You got some Indian. You got Indian in you. I never was told I got a little more, or I never heard anybody say that. Well, again, we were known, we knew of our West Indian side, because again, my mother's parents were full blood West Indians. And so we saw ourselves. It's just that even with that label, I never knew that to mean that we were the Indians, but that's exactly what it means. When Columbus came, he didn't come to North America. He only dealt in the Caribbean. And so those first people he saw would have been the Caribbeans. That's why that word exists when it did at that first point of colonization. Okay, so I am really going way long with this, right? So let me see if I can get into the videos. Again, we're going to look at the white brother who he's going to talk to us about the enumerated was it the enumerated powers of Congress? And wait till you hear what he has to say. It's going to knock your socks off, Indians. It's going to, and you got to hear this, please. I'm begging. Because why? Because we can't mess this up. We can't go back into slavery on the down low. Indians, that we have so much sovereignty in our fingertips, at our fingertips. And if we let them, if we allow them to, if we give them an inch, it's going to become a mile. Some of the videos one of the videos we're going to look at tonight, I think it's the same video, they're going to tell you exactly that. From 18 or 19 enumerated functions, they went hog wild. And now they've got all these different agencies that the original Constitution never gave them the right to have. But once they reclassified, once they got rid of the authority in the House, which was us Indians, that's why we're at the lowest. That's the logic behind us being the lowest. It's not because, oh, you ugly, you dumb, you stupid. It's not that, y'all. It's because of the authority that we have. That's why we're at the bottom. Because ironically, we are at the top in America. It's called commonly a white status, if you go with a status. And like in my last video, I think that just connects to the white crown, which was a Palmerian crown. That's why it's called the white status. The white crown was worn by the first king of Tamari, Osa. And the red crown is secondary. There was no red crown when Osa was rocking. The red crown is basically a crown of, it would have to be the foreigner. And Set is the god of the foreigner. And that red crown, again, it is given a nod to with the red fez. Okay, so enough pontificating. These videos are fire, and I don't know why I'm still talking when I got share this darn video. Okay, so let me share my screen. I don't even know where I'm at. Where am I? Where's my screen at? Is that it? Okay, that's not it. Oh, let's give a hand to Zoom. Thank you, Zoom. Thank you, thank you. So we're not going to start with Anna first. I think I want to start with my actual brother. Now, this is not a white brother, but let's just listen. And I'm going to always run my mouth. So you never have to worry about that not happening. But let's see if I could. Okay. So I think I have like but they're short. That's why I could pontificate as long as I did. Hopefully. So let's listen to the brother. He actually um went to the same school of Anna that I did, but I think he's a much better student than I am. He just has a he you'll see, and he's going to talk to us about the three constitutions. I was very impressed with this brother, for a young brother. He's he uh-oh, but we have to do that thing with the sound, right? We have to do that thing with the sound. How are we going to do this? Okay, I should have fixed this before. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, I gotta get my Bluetooth. They're gonna give me that second. The second bell means that the Bluetooth is hooked up. So don't mind me. I have to hook up my Bluetooth. Please hook up Bluetooth. Come on now. Okay. Oh yeah. It would not connect. I'm so sorry. I forget that we have to go through this rigmarole. Yeah, look at that. It just like acts like it don't know how to connect. I really don't want to play the video and you not hear it. So I'll remove it. Oh, gotta go through this crap. Sorry about this, y'all. Okay. Okay, let's try it all again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. Hang tight with me, you know. Let's show add Bluetooth because I took it off, so now I have to add it. And make it discoverable, I think. Audio. Okay. Add Bluetooth. Hello. Okay. Sorry about this. Here we go. Okay, great. So now I just have to move the speaker closer. Don't my have to move my video a little bit. Actually, it puts me in the middle a little more better. Sorry guys. Just give me a minute, please. I think the videos are short, so it shouldn't be too okay. Okay, so I'm going to turn up the volume. I'm done. So sorry about this, but I am going to have to take off my headphones, as we know, because we're going to get this work. Okay, so let me take off these headphones. Voices, got the echo thing going on, but let's listen to the Constitution. Fair use, fair use. I almost forgot. Thank you, ancestors, and thank you for this time. Okay.
Let us look at the matter of constitutions. What is the Constitution? It is a two-part equity contract consisting of an indenture, that is the preamble and the Bill of Rights, and a service agreement contract. It obligated the United States, which was a commercial company and a trust management organization operating as a private for-profit but unincorporated company organized by Benjamin Franklin and several other well-known names in 1754. The original Constitution, the Constitution for the United States of America, which created the federal United States, is built of articles of treaty. There are 10 articles and 3 amendments to the original equity contract called the Constitution for the United States of America. This Constitution was created in 1787, and it establishes the law of the land. There's also one article known as the Titles of Nobility Amendment. There are 2 more American constitutions that you should be aware of: the 1789 Territorial Constitution of the United States of America and the 1790 Municipal Constitution of the United States. Each constitution lays out the structure, duties, and responsibilities of the federal government in the 3 jurisdictions: land, sea, and air. And each deal with nothing but the international affairs in the specific realm of commerce as opposed to international trade. The original national federal government operating in the international jurisdiction of the land under the 1787 Constitution for the United States of America did business as the States of America. The original territorial federal government operating under the 1787 Constitution of the United States of America in the international jurisdiction of the sea did business as the United States of America. The original municipal constitution operating under the 1790 Constitution of the United States operated in the international jurisdiction of the air did business as the United States. The federal government has not operated on international land since 1860, when Southern members of Congress walked out of their meeting, meaning Congress and state legislators have not been operating in their proper capacity, legally or lawfully, and no amendments have been made to the actual Constitution since 1860.
Okay, so let me see. Okay. I don't know why I started doing the disco strobe light thing. Not sure what happened. But I was so distracted by it that I didn't get to comment on what the brother was saying. So because it's a 4-minute video, if you don't want to watch it again, please fast forward. But I would like to hear him one more time because he said some things. I'm sorry, I was distracted by the disco. I turned into a disco ball or something. Y'all saw what was going on. I think you saw it. You know. And so I wasn't even sure if it was still recorded. So we're gonna just hear it one more time. And this time I'm not gonna get distracted because I'm going to fair use. I'm going to make my video small so I don't get distracted. So let me, okay, there we go. No more disco distractions. Okay, I kind of want to comment on what the brother was saying. Now, his channel is Nations Real Self Empowerment. Okay, so if you want to subscribe, brother breaks down some of his stuff is really, really good. So let's give one more listen, okay? Okay. Oops, I thought that was a commercial. Sorry.
Let us look at the matter of constitutions. What is the Constitution? It is a 2-part equity contract consisting of an indenture, that is the preamble and the Bill of Rights, and a service agreement contract.
A service agreement. So they agreed to provide enumerated services. Who was their authority at that time, it would have had to been the people who just, had the Revolutionary War and were now the authority of the land, and we gave them a job. Okay, just want to be clear on that. Who's the authority? That would have been the Indians and the new freed subjects from Britain. Okay, so I'll start again. Okay, I'll continue.
And a service agreement contract. It obligated the United States, which was a commercial company and a trust management organization operating as a private for-profit but unincorporated company.
Okay, so it was a corporation, but what he said was, no, I'm sorry. It was a for-profit organization, but it was not a corporation. So that I found interesting. It wasn't exactly what it is today back then, but he's talking about the 1787 Constitution, if I'm hearing him correctly. So I still think that Britain knew what it was going to do. Again, they planned several years ahead of time. So say now they knew that they could help us or take this Constitution and rework it. Okay, so that's when we get the other two constitutions. Excuse me. Okay, so let's just go back a little bit and start again.
As a private for-profit but unincorporated company organized by Benjamin Franklin and several other well-known names in 1754.
Okay, so I just want to say, if it was not a corporation, that means it could deal with us as men and women without the need to capitalize our name and make us like little franchises. The government, as it was, had the capacity to interact with us without changing us into franchise. But it got so happy with changing identities that eventually it turned us black, didn't it, American Indians? Yep, see? So it starts off, one way. It takes a little bit, and then it takes a little more. And then before you know it, well, that's the next video I believe we're going to watch. What happens when it takes a little bit, which turns into a lot more, right? Fair use. Let's go back a little bit.
Several other well-known names in 1754. The original Constitution, the Constitution for the United States of America, which created the federal United States, is built of articles of treaty. There are 10 articles and 3 amendments to the original equity contract called the Constitution for the United States of America.
Okay, so he's telling us that it was also a treaty. So when it begins to do extra, it's breaking the terms of the treaty or the contract, right? We have a right to check that. Now, we can easily figure that the whole point of getting us to be United States citizens, first of all, it was unconstitutional because it took us out of the authority position that we had. we cannot continue to be afraid of an entity that is clearly doing everything it can manage to do to put us in an inferior position when we had a superior position. Now they're just bullying us. Basically, they've gotten so big that they feel like you better be scared of us. When you are afraid of your own government, you may as well have a dictatorship, because that's exactly what's going on here. We are being bullied and occupied when it comes to us as indigenous. We have to speak like this in order to begin to know what our job is. We have to. We cannot be afraid to speak, because we're speaking Constitution. What is this video we're looking at? It's called The Three Constitutions. So this is not an act of terrorism. This is us having to rediscover what sovereignty really meant when we produced a contract, which was a constitution, which was also a treaty with a foreign nation. It was Britain. I mean, I want to say that I have to think that that wasn't the smartest move to make, because we should have maybe considered that these people were just kicking our ass as a nobility over subjects. How are we going to really trust them? You know, how are we going to really trust them? Some people say that they funded both sides of the war. You know, I mean, I didn't look into that, but okay, so we know that some of the presidents were Masons. Perhaps that's where the connection is. Maybe it was all, you know, theater, you know, to make the people think that, you know, oh yeah, we're gonna surrender to you, you know, when they had no intention to. Okay. Okay, so
To the original equity contract called the Constitution for the United States.
wait, I'm sorry.
Original equity contract called the Treaty. There are 10 articles and 3 amendments to the
3 amendments. There were only 3 amendments to the original Continental Constitution. All the others are unconstitutional. I think he's going to tell us why. If not him, then the next video. Okay.
of treaty. There are 10 articles and 3 amendments to the original equity contract called the Constitution for the United States of America. This Constitution was created in 1787, and it establishes the law of the land. There's also one article.
Law of the land. Now, when it comes to us Indians, we've been removed from the land, right? So if this Constitution dealt with land and law of the land, which would have been very akin to common law, and we have just been taken off the land, well, that would be a point where we are unprotected by a law of the land, right? Because this, what would become the corporation, it really only had jurisdiction over, and I think he's going to talk over the sea. I think he's going to talk about it. So let's listen. I'm going back a little bit.
And it establishes the law of the land. There's also one article known as the Titles of Nobility Amendment. There are two more American constitutions that you should be aware of: the 1789 Territorial Constitution of the United States of America and the 1790 Municipal Constitution of the United States.
Okay.
Each constitution lays out the structure.
Okay. So I just want to comment on that. The territorial one, that it's a little, that deals, that's now Britain subcontracting. Now, we contracted Britain, but I believe what happens is once they create the territorial, territorial, I'll put you this way, it's a sea jurisdiction, but it also deals with territories that are outside of the continental states, I want to say. And so they would be, from what I understand, exclusive property of the monarchy. So that would basically, it has to do with a sea jurisdiction, because the first constitution is the continental. The second one is the sea. And the third one, the municipal one, is the air. So somehow, you know, our government, I don't know that it was we the people that created the territorial and the municipal. So I guess we would have to do some kind of looking into that, because if we gave them the Constitution for the United States, and then within the next 4 or 5 years, there are 2 other constitutions that we did not give them, what happened to the original one? You know, well, once they reclassified all of us, there was no need for the original one. Very, you know, that would have to be why it doesn't really apply. And they know it, but they just refer to a constitution. They never tell us which one, you know. So here we have an example of the duplication process. I would hope that we only need one constitution. I really don't understand why a landmass would be separated by water and air. Aren't they both just necessary for the land? And couldn't it be combined into a continental? Why do we have to have 3 different constitutions? First of all, isn't a constitution, as we designed it, the first one, wasn't that about people making a declaration and then it morphing into a constitution? So where did these other 2 come from? Who who declared what that made there be a territorial constitution? And who declared what that made there be a municipal constitution? Municipal is dealing with the Vatican and the air jurisdiction. Again, territorial is dealing with waterways and the sea. But Anna explained to us not all waterways, which I found very interesting, because that is not how this government is currently operating. I don't know that it's grown, shall we say, without our asking it to grow. So, okay, so let's let the brother continue. I leave the video small so I can see to stop the video, because if I make it big, I can't really let me see. No, that would work. Okay, theater mode. Okay.
Each constitution lays out the structure, duties, and responsibilities of the federal government in the three jurisdictions, land, sea, and air, and each deal with nothing but the international affairs in the specific realm of commerce as opposed to international trade. The original
International commerce as opposed to international trade. We would have to go and find out what is the difference between commerce and trade, okay? Because when he said that, it kind of spoke to me. What it made me think is that as American Indians, we have to call ours trade, because we're not in the jurisdiction of the corporation. We're not under it. I guess people really don't hear that, but we know it's the truth, right? That's why we're not really mentioned except to say we're not taxed, because we were not even enumerated. So that tells us, Indians, why are we trying to be part of this system now when we were never supposed to be? So we're not going back to the ancestors' ways, right? If we're running to be, for instance, federally recognized, all that means is we're going to be under their thumb again, and they're going to make loops and hoops for us to jump through to get some benefits and privileges. But we don't need that when they, first of all, when they give us what a lawsuit should, so we will have plenty of finances to get our stuff started, and to keep it, because I think part of the penalty would be some form of assistance in terms of, if we need something for you to supply outside of the money and land that you are going to give us for the law, what we're suing you for, then part of the penalizing would be that you assist us in any way you can. But this assistance would not incur any obligation of us to you, but it would just promote what the original obligation was supposed to be, which was an obligation to us, your services. There are 18 or 19 enumerated services. So now the federal government will use whatever it has to assist us, because everything it did has to be reversed, right? And if everything they did was to cripple us, then they have to make us whole again, right? So if they crippled us financially because they were obstructing trade, well, now they're going to have to take part in repairing the trade that we have, right? It would only make sense. Everything you did to disempower us, part of the penalty should be that now you only assist us with everything you took away from us. Now you give it to us. The pain and suffering and from the stigma of this Black caste system is ongoing. There really is no way for the system to stop that very fast. But what they could do is start to fund commercials that talk about us as Indians, right? So you help to create a narrative that I am Black. Well, now you can help create the narrative and cement the narrative that I'm an Indian. That would be what justice would look like. The thing that you took, or the things that you took, you now have to assist in replacing them and putting them back, like our identity. So now the federal government will fund huge, massive international projects, films, commercials, campaigns that begin to deconstruct this mass mindset that looks at us as Black and African. Wouldn't that be a way to fix something that was damaged? Because that is what along with that is a serious media overhaul. It might include rap music, things that assist in creating for us as an indigenous people a very negative stereotypes and amounts to character assassination. Slander, libel, character assassination. There has to be massive, I'm talking major networks, y'all. Major networks. Now spreading the truth just as willingly as it spread the lies. So let's finish listening to the brother, okay? Talk about the 3 constitutions. Fair use.
Pacific realm of commerce as opposed to international trade. The original national federal government operating in the international jurisdiction of the land under the 1787 Constitution for the United States of America did business as the States of America.
States of
The
America.
original territorial federal government operating under the 1787 Constitution of the United States of America in the international jurisdiction of the sea did business as the United States of America. The original municipal constitution operating under the 1790 Constitution of the United States operated in the international
the brother
operated.
The brother misspoke. The first one is the 1787, but he does have it here. The second one is 1789. Okay. So he misspoke like I have often done. So let's play it back again because it was a little confusing until I realized.
Operating under the 1790 Constitution of the United States of America. The original municipal constitution operating under the 1790 Constitution of the United States in the international jurisdiction of 1787 Constitution of the United States of America in the international 1787 Constitution of
1787 is for the United States. So he kind of misspoke a couple of times. So the first one, the 1787 one right here, is for the United States. So we're giving this one to the corporation. But then these two, the 1789 and the 1790, this is the corporation sort of, we didn't do these two. Okay. The corporation seems to have outsourced some of its duties. Well, let me see. Actually, no, 1789 is their territory. But this was the one we gave them, and then they get, well, the way I heard it was that, the way Anna explained it, she says, once we give them our original document, 1787, they can meet those requirements any way they wish. In other words, they can do another contract as long as it's still performing the duties in this one. Same thing with the 1790. Like, in other words, the federal government corporation, they could do whatever they needed to do to fulfill the 18 or 19 enumerated services. So in other words, just make it consistent with what the 1787 one was. Whatever you do to get the job done, and what they proceeded to do was make two more constitutions, bringing in the Vatican, apparently, because they split it into air and sea, in addition to the land one. So they split up the land. That's what I'm seeing. It is the corporation itself split the land into sea and air. If I'm reading, if I'm getting this right. Because they were, now see, they weren't a corporation at first. So I'm inclined to believe they didn't start out as a sea jurisdiction at first. You see what I'm saying? Because it was the Continental Constitution. So they were operating on the land. They immediately, and that has more written all over it, who would want to take us to sea? The ones who live on the sea, the Moors, the pirates, right? And that's exactly what they did once they created the sea jurisdiction, because I don't believe that we had anything to do with this, with separating the the water from the land and the air from the land. They found it necessary to do that. This is the one we gave them. These two we did not give them. Okay? They subcontracted after being contracted, is how Anna explained it. And if I'm reading her correctly. So let's let the brother finish here.
The 1787 Constitution of the United States of
For the
America,
United States.
in the international jurisdiction of the sea, did business as the United States of America. The original municipal constitution, operating under the 1790 Constitution of the United States, operated in
He's got me.
America.
He kind of misspoke. I think, yeah, because he said 1787 twice. So maybe he did mean the sea jurisdiction. Okay. Okay.
For the United States of America, did business as the States of America. The original territorial federal government, operating under the 1787 Constitution
1789.
of the United States of America.
That's what it was.
In the
1789.
international jurisdiction of the sea, did business as the United States of America. The original municipal constitution, operating under the 1790 Constitution of the United States, operated in the international jurisdiction of the air did business as the United States. The federal government.
Okay, we're gonna play it back just one more time, okay? Because I just think we really, need to hear him, and I need to, you know, hear him as well. Let me see.
National affairs in this, but the international affairs in the specific realm of commerce as opposed to international trade. The original national federal government operating in the international jurisdiction of the land under the 1787 Constitution for the United States of America did.
I think I hear what he's saying. It sounds like we had an international jurisdiction for the land, meaning the 50 states, because they were seen as nations. So that's the first international. But then it became about every other nation on the planet. And I don't believe that's what we intended. Because I think when it was on the land, if I'm hearing him correctly, it was trade. But when it goes beyond the sea, it becomes commerce. You see what I'm saying? So when it was between the 50 states, that was trade. And that's what this government did. It turned our trade. We could have been trading with each other in a non-commerce way, in terms of we wouldn't have to have all this monitoring, because it would be, it would be trade, not commerce. Commerce has a whole it's the sea jurisdiction, where trade, it sounded like trade is the land jurisdiction, if you all feel what I'm saying. I believe trade is done on land and commerce is done on the sea. But of course, the corporation makes everything commerce or commercial, commerce or commercial, so that it can grab authority.
And under the 1787 Constitution for the United States of America did business as the States of America.
States of America.
The original territorial federal government operating under the 1787 Constitution of the United States of America in the international jurisdiction of the sea did business as the United States of America. The original municipal constitution operating under the 1790 Constitution of the United States operated in the international jurisdiction of the air did business as the United States. The federal government has not operated on international land since 1860, when Southern members of Congress walked out of their meeting.
Okay. So basically, yeah, he's about to say it. So once there was a walkout, it has not been a for the people, by the people deal. Someone else stepped in. It's, if I'm here, he'll finish saying it, but in other words, when we didn't have a meeting of the minds, it was a done deal. The South walked out, right? I believe is what he said. It was, this is what I'm getting. When those men and women walked out, that was, they were not supposed to be, it was not supposed to pick up without them. You know what I'm saying? But the corporation, in an unconstitutional move, went forward with the walkout. You can't do that, because those people, they can't be replaced. And if you're not, see, that's what it does with us too. It just goes ahead with or without us, right? That is a problem that this corporation it's a habit that this corporation has, and it likes it this way because it leads to them having their way. In other words, okay, you're not included. We'll just go on without you and do what we wanted to. But let's hear that again. I need to stop it, but it's important. So, in other words, we've been operating an unconstitutional Congress ever since the walkout. Fair use.
On international land since 1860, when Southern members of Congress walked out of their meeting, meaning Congress and state legislators have not been operating in their proper capacity, legally or lawfully, and no amendments have been made to the actual Constitution since 1860.
So, for amendments to happen, oh gosh, that's how we got the 14th Amendment, y'all. For amendments to happen, you have to have all the members present. But again, the corporation, a foreign entity, they started doing their own shit pretty quickly, right? So you get people walk out and you just say, well, oh well, let's continue. Let's hear this one more time because it's kind of.
The original municipal constitution, operating under the 1790 Constitution of the United States, operated in the international jurisdiction of the air, did business as the United States. The federal government has not operated on international land since 1860, when Southern members of Congress walked out of their meeting, meaning Congress and state legislators have not been operating in their proper capacity, legally or lawfully, and no amendments have been made to the actual Constitution since 1860.
Well, they are not going by that Constitution anyway. They got rid of the whole thing. But remember, in one of my videos, I was telling you there's no 14th Amendment in the first Constitution. That's the one we got to get back to. And we have to argue for that because they don't want to go back to that. Obviously, there would be no 14th Amendment citizens if we go back to that original document. And that's the one where we, the people, were present. Anything that happened, like he said, after 1860 was unlawful and, what do you say? I think unconstitutional. It would have to be. Congress and legislatures have been, but how do you put it? Acting, oof, let's hear it one more time. I'm sorry. Okay.
He did business as the United States of America. The original municipal constitution, operating under the 1790 Constitution of the United States, operated in the international jurisdiction of the air, did business as the United States. The federal government has not operated on international land since 1860, when Southern members of Congress walked out of their meeting, meaning Congress and state legislators have not been operating in their proper capacity, legally or lawfully, and no amendments have been made to the actual Constitution since 1860.
The actual Constitution. We need to go back to that one, indigenous. And I really, we really have, but we have to be in our proper persona as Indians. We're the only ones who can really, we're the only ones that have the highest authority on the land. That's why I'm so, I don't know, concerned that if we don't take that first position, we're going to be punked by some other entity again. We want total control. And that doesn't mean we're doing anything bad, indigenous. They still have to serve us. Now, say, for instance, we have some kind of, I don't know, trouble amongst the Indians. As long as the corporation is here, they might as well assist us, right? There's nothing wrong with that, right? because we're in our lawful and legal place as Indians. So why would you not want to serve it? You're on our land. So in other words, Indians, we have to call the shots. We have to become the shot callers. And I'm starting to see that. I'm surprised that our people want to be dominated by the corporation. And you see what we see when we see the corporations, nothing but a bunch of foreigners pretty much dominated. So we're saying that we want to be dominated by foreigners, where we can start our own assemblies. And not be dominated by a subcontractor. They're just the subcontractor we hired. They're not God. You know, they're not mommy, they're not daddy. You know, they're not grandpa, they're not grandma. You know. Okay, so let's move on to the next video. I'm doing a lot of talking. This one talks about the enumerated powers, and you want to hear what this man has to say. Okay, I wish he kind of went in a little more, but he does an okay job. Fair use. Let's hear about. Oh wait, we're supposed to be in theater mode, so we can have that control over the video. Okay, fair use. This is a video talking about those enumerated powers that we mentioned in the last video. So now we're going to hear a little more about them. And fair use, please listen to this. What Congress can and cannot do. The enumerated powers. Educational purposes.
Right underneath section 4, the second paragraph, it says, Congress shall assemble at least once in every year. Why do they write that? How long is Congress in session right now? All year long. I mean, 11 and a half months a year. They take 2 weeks in December to go to the Bahamas with their secretary. So why is Congress in session so long? Or rather, why did the Founding Fathers feel a necessity to write, you must get together once a year? What difference does it make? They're there all the time. Well, maybe they didn't expect Congress to be there all year long. What is Congress supposed to do? Where is that listed? It's listed in section 8. Let's go to page 23. In the middle of the page in your book, little booklet, Constitution booklet, says section 8. Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises every April 15th for anything they want. Isn't that what your book says?
Nope.
I have a different copy. What does your book say? To lay and collect duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts, provide for the common defense, and general welfare. End of story. If they are collecting taxes for anything other than that, it's unconstitutional. They can't do that. Now, section 8 gives a list of 18 things that Congress is permitted to do. It's a privilege that we give them. Let's look at some of them. They can borrow money. They can regulate commerce with foreign nations, establish a uniform rule of naturalization.
Now, I'm sorry. He said regulate commerce with foreign nations. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. If we're supposed to be United States, are we foreign to each other when we, it just occurred to me. I'm starting to think that the commerce that they really were supposed, we needed them on the high seas, right? So if there's no seas between these states, we don't need them, right? not in a commercial sense, in a trade sense, perhaps. But it's looking like trade is what you do when you're on a contiguous landmass with no sea between you. So somehow these two videos that we watched, I'm starting to feel like, or to believe that commerce is specifically done on the sea. And Anna said not all waterways. So it's not everywhere you find water. It's the high seas. I think it would have to be seas that part different nations specifically, not waterways that's on the landmass of the same continent. But let's listen. I want to go back a little bit because I want you to hear what he says about taxes again. In other words, they're not supposed to be. Let's hear it.
Is that listed? It's listed in section 8. Let's go to page 23. In the middle of the page in your book, little booklet, Constitution booklet, says section 8. Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises every April 15th for anything they want.
Anything they want.
Isn't that what your book says? I have a different copy. What does your book say? To lay and collect duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts, provide for the common defense, and general welfare. End of story.
Okay, so what does that mean? I'm going to take a stab at it. They're only supposed to tax that which is within commerce. And I'm starting to think that would be with foreign nations and not even with our own people at all. Wouldn't you tax something from, like, say, something going international, right? And it would be the tax would be, well, say for instance, now we want to encourage trade among the states or the nation states of America. Maybe the government might impose a tax on incoming stuff, right? So, but it's not on us. The tax is not on us. You know what I'm saying? We're going to hear him again, but it sounds like excise. What is an excise tax? Well, we'll look it up, okay? But it sounded like their tax authority is only within commerce between nations, foreign nations, because he's made the distinction of saying foreign nations is what the federal government is supposed to deal with, not the nation states on the same landmass. So let's hear this one more time. Let's see if we can hear it more, you know.
What does your book say? To lay and collect duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts.
Duties. That is not like taxing the people, right? It's in commerce. That's what these taxes were supposed to be. But once the corporation made everybody a commercial entity, now they just tax us coming and going. Income tax? Those are wages, not income. And income is something that a corporation makes, not a man and woman earning wages. You see why we can't really do business with an entity like this and trust them? Why would we want to be under such fraud? It's going to have an effect of corrupting what we're trying to do, right? We have to separate. Indigenous, have faith. We're the ones that built nations. Why are we so afraid to be without a corporation? Why can't we conceive of it? You have to conceive of it first for it to be. The rewards will be better because we will be in authority, which means there's no taxing us. There's no imposing some kind of whatever I get. It's because it's on my land. And it would be, if anything, us getting paid for the use of our land. Shouldn't the Indians get something from foreigners that are living on the land? I mean, instead of the government? It's our land, not the government. So why are they collecting stuff? That's where we have to understand our authority and desire our authority. If we have some kind of middle person, they're going to be cheating us. We don't need a middle person. We represent the first people of America, not a corporation. So this is a 10-minute video. So let's see if we can get through it.
Isn't that what your book says? I have a different copy. What does your book say? To lay and collect duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts, provide for the common defense and general welfare. End of story. If they are collecting taxes for anything other than that, it's unconstitutional. They can't do.
Can't do that. Okay. I want to quickly, while we have it up, let's see what does excise? What is an excise tax? Now, there it is. It's in general, an excise tax is a tax imposed on the sale of specific goods or services or on certain uses, like fuel, airline tickets, heavy trucks, highway tractors. So it's in commerce, right? That means for us to be taxed, we'd have to be involved in any of those type of things. Otherwise, and I think it would have to be over the high seas, not inland. Well, heavy trucks. I don't, at this point, I believe they've added stuff in order to make it, on the land and in between the states. In other words, I would think that the government is supposed to be collecting this from foreigners, but collecting it from foreigners, not from the people. Because that's where your commerce is. A lot of your international commerce is with other nations, other foreign nations. That's why I say this. We had trade among the states, is what I'm inclined to, how I'm inclined to interpret this. Okay, so let's get back to
Provide for the common defense and general welfare. And to lay and collect duties, imposts, and excises, to pay the debts, provide for the common defense and general welfare. End of story. If they are collecting taxes for anything other than that, it's unconstitutional. They can't do that. Now, Section 8 gives a list of 18 things that Congress is permitted to do. It's a privilege that we give them.
We give
Let's
them.
look at some of them. They can
Fair
borrow
use.
money. They can regulate commerce with foreign nations, establish a uniform rule of naturalization, coin money and regulate the value thereof, provide for the punishment of counterfeiting, establish post offices, promote the progress of science, constitute tribunals to define and punish piracies, declare war, raise and support armies, to provide and maintain a navy, etc., etc. 18 things. Those are the things that Congress is given permission to do. Anything that Congress is doing that is not in that list is by definition unconstitutional.
There you have it, folks. We're gonna listen to that again because I don't think, I know I didn't, I don't think many of us have a clue of what their duties are. And did you hear that they have to meet at least once a year? These people are in those seats every day. What are they doing? Dreaming up ways to make you pay for services you did not give them authority to provide. So they're literally working overtime at our expense. It's like me going into my office when my employer did not ask me to work. They would refuse to pay me if I did that. Not in this case, right? They go in, we get taxed, and the bullshit wheel keeps spinning. It is, if they're doing more than what we asked them to do, it is, as he said, unconstitutional. And we think we can play ball with these. I mean, it's like mafia, you know? But we are the authority. Indians? No authority is higher than us on the land. Now, what are we going to do about that? Again, it has nothing to do with terrorism or inland or what do you call it? Inland terrorism, or whatever. We are going with the Constitution and those enumerated duties. This is not terrorism. This is the American men and women, particularly the Indian, saying, wait a minute, what are you people doing? What did we hire you to do? I mean, besides denationalizing us and calling us black, what else are you doing that we didn't ask you to do? We need, as a lot of our Indians say, complete segregation in order to prosper. We have to look at that as our model for prosperity. Because it will be. We will not be taxed. We will not have any hindrance by this corporation. And then, as Anna says it, we got to decide if we want them to still do those 18 things that we asked them to do. Do we still need you to do it? I mean, you've done such a horrible job. In the real world, if you didn't do the job you were asked to do, and you're doing a bad job with even the jobs you made up, that'd be cause for firing. Because all we see is we pay the bill. Since when does your employer pay you for misuse of funds, for incurring more debt than a profit? Since when? But this federal entity masquerading as a government does it every day. They're not even supposed to be in those seats every day. Did y'all hear that part? I've never heard this before. Who knew? I didn't. Indians, we have to take control, Indians. This is our house. We cannot let the maids or the servants run this house and then try to tell them that we'll do what you tell us to do. That's not how it works. There's a chain of authority, a chain of command. And we Indians need to get a clue about that. What are we here for? To be dominated in a gentler way? No, we come back to dominate on our land. It's only right. Because if we don't, a foreigner will never do it the way we need it to be done, unless we keep a strict eye on him and tell him, look, we don't need you to be in Congress every day. Let's scale it down to once a year, as it was first advised or recommended by the drafters of the Constitution. You're doing way too much. Let's continue fair use.
The things that Congress is given permission to do. Anything that Congress is doing that is not in that list is by definition unconstitutional.
Yeah, I want to hear that list again. That's what I wanted to. Let's hear this list again.
Coin money and regulate the value. Establish a uniform rule of naturalization. Some of them. They can borrow money. They can regulate commerce with foreign nations. Establish a uniform rule of naturalization. Coin money.
Now, when they borrow money, borrow money. Since when do we know that the government can borrow money, right? I guess they say that they do that with the Federal Reserve. Well, the Federal Reserve is unconstitutional. It's a private, for-profit entity. That's why we had the greenbacks, because that wasn't for profit. That was just, for us to be able to function in our land and, pay each other for our different services. But they made our money system something that we have to pay for. Every dollar we use, the Federal Reserve gets paid. They're a for-profit business. This is not how the original design was. We didn't want to have to pay for the money we use, y'all. It's like dealing with a foreigner, but I have to stand corrected. The Federal Reserve is foreign, run by foreigners. The people in the Federal Reserve, we don't know that they're Americans. And from what I understand, they're not. So we are being robbed silly. Aren't we entitled to our own governmental money by a real government? and not a foreign entity giving us money that we have to pay them to use? Why are they taking advantage of us like that? Let's hear those 18 services again.
Let's look at some of them. They can borrow money. They can regulate commerce with foreign nations.
Foreign nations.
Establish a uniform rule of naturalization. Coin money and regulate the value thereof. Provide for the punishment of counterfeiting. Establish post offices. Promote the progress of science. Constitute tribunals to define and punish piracies. Declare war. Raise and support armies to provide and maintain a navy, etc., etc. 18 things. Those are the things that Congress is given permission to do. Anything that Congress is doing that is not in that list is by definition unconstitutional. Take a quick check. Show me Board of Education. Can you find it? Show me Social Security. Is it in there? They're unconstitutional. You can't do that. Now, they can build an army. They can build a navy. Okay, bang. You got soldiers, you got sailors.
No Air Force.
Okay, well, there wasn't an Air Force at the time.
When they say general welfare of the United States, is that where they come back and say
It is general welfare. General welfare means that it's got to be good for everybody. For the general population.
Specified, like the patent office and the trademark office, those would be items of general welfare.
That's really specific. Now, handouts for food stamps or free housing and all that, is that general welfare? No, not unless everybody gets it. That is not general welfare, that is specific welfare. And that's where they've twisted these words around. I'm opposed to public education. I'm in favor of everybody being really smart. But in 1953, we established the Department of Housing, Education, and Welfare. During the 1950s, students in the United States were #1 in math and science. Russia was a distant #2. We were so far in first place that we didn't even have to worry about it. Everybody was sending their boys and girls to the United States to get a good education. So now we've had the Department of Education for about 50 years. Can your kids read and write? If they can, it's not because they went to school. Currently, United States students are 21 on a national or worldwide scale. We are no longer in first place. In fact, we are so far from first place, we can't even count that home. So back to my definition of insanity. We've had the Department of Education for 50 years. You want to throw more money into it? No, let's eliminate the Department of Education. Let's start teaching our kids something. Homeschool. They have a national spelling bee every year. The last 4 years in a row, the winner of the national spelling bee was homeschooled. The last year, the first, second, and third place students were homeschooled. You have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out? Your kids are going to school and coming back stupid. Take them out of school so they learn something. Congress is supposed to create an army. They did. They're supposed to create a navy. They did. What are they going to do next year? Well, you don't have to create an army. You've already got one. You don't have to create a navy again. So you can cross those two off the list. You're supposed to create post offices. Well, okay, we did. Maybe this year we got one more. Okay, we got it. Now what? Well, there's not much else they're supposed to do. Go home.
Amen.
That's why the founding fathers put in that article about you've got to get together at least once a year. When do we elect our representative? Every other year.
Okay, so recently I was quoted by a panelist that I shouldn't want to send them packing. Well, quite literally, what this man just said is even when they're on the job, they should have been went packing because they're not supposed to be there every day. So again, we're dealing with an entity that has become so self-directed that it decides to take hours that we never gave them. And so what they do is, it's almost like it's theater. They could be home, but because they're so busy dreaming of ways to extort money from the general public, it's like what they say, no rest for the wicked or something, or weary, the wicked, or wickedness never sleeps, apparently. But again, we just learned that they're not supposed. So am I saying something that's wrong and that is bad? You're against the government. They're not supposed to be there all every day. That's what he just told us. So let's finish this and move to the last video. I think we'll let this play and I might comment a little more, but then I'm going to play the next video, and I think we'll do Anna next time because I realize it's a long video, so we'll save the best for later. Okay, so let him continue. He says, go home. Fair use.
Together at least once a year. How often do we elect our representatives? Every other year. The founding fathers were paranoid that we were going to go to Washington, get elected, have a big celebration, and then go home and never come back. They don't want the ship of state traveling without somebody checking in. And so they said, you got to check in at least once a year. That all by itself gives you a strong clue that Congress is doing more than they're supposed to. Go home.
Dominating us. That's what they're doing.
Article or section 9 of Article 1 is a list of things that Congress can't do. Now, wait a minute. If we are giving you permission, and I've given you a list of the things that you can't do, anything that's not on that list, you can't do, right? You just, you tell your kids, these are the things you can eat. Grapefruit, cauliflower, spinach. Anything that's not on that list, you can't eat. How about M&Ms? Is it on the list? No, then you can't do it. But as a parent, you know that a list of things you can do isn't enough. If you're going to go off of the store, you can say, these are the things you can't eat, and these are the things you can't eat. You can't have M&Ms, you can't have Hershey bars, you can't have candy of any form, just in case you need to know from the first list. So we gave Congress, just in case you didn't know, a second list. Section 9 says these are the things you cannot do. Let me look at 9. On page 25, 9-4. No capitation or other direct tax shall be laid unless in proportion to the census or enumeration hereinbefore directed to be taken. So we're giving Congress power to tax. We already said that it was supposed to be enumerated, but we're going to go in and say, and you can't do any tax that's not based on enumeration. You can't.
And we were not supposed to be enumerated. Most of us know that, indigenous, but once they made us United States citizens, we getting taxed and enumerated. And then that leads to genocide. Because if they're enumerating us, that means they don't want to, they already just reclassified us, right? So clearly they want, they're sending harm in our direction. So if you're enumerating me and you got me outside of the law with the black colored Negro, what do you intend to do with me exactly? I guess we just have to use our common sense. I say all this because I'm trying to figure out what part of being under the government is going to do us any good. If it's money, we really got to understand that what they give us is not there's more to be had. Let's put it that way. And he said they weren't even supposed to be collecting, so it's not constitutional to have Social Security. But what again? Once they create a new type of a citizen, the sky is the limit. They can create any kind of anything, take our money, and then tell us later, oh, but the Social Security fund is too low. Where is all that money going? If you're taking money out that's supposed to be held for me, but somehow I might not get it, how is that possible? What are you doing with the money? Anyway, fair use, let's continue.
We already said that it was supposed to be enumerated, but we're gonna go in and say, and you can't do any tax that's not based on enumeration. Can't. Are they doing it? Yeah. It's unconstitutional.
Especially with
Who's gonna do
Indians.
something about it? Congress?
Who's going to do something about
No.
it, Indians?
Our job. We've got to hold their feet to the fire. You can't.
But if we are under them, there is nothing we can do but take their lead. He just said, who's going to do something about it? The highest authority on the land would be us Indians. But I think a lot of us, I guess we've fallen in love with our colonizer. It's like when the prostitute, I guess, falls in love with the pimp. Beat me, daddy, beat me good. Like a pimp daddy should. I don't, I'm not looking to be disrespectful. I just want us to know that what's in store for us at the end of this rainbow or the end of this tunnel, whatever, it really is a pot of gold. Quite literal. When you can walk on the land like a king or a queen, only then will your ancestors be satisfied. But if we are talking about, we want to go by the statutes and the codes, and such and such statute said this, and this code said that, that don't apply to us. We make our own. Oh boy, there was a time, I remember specifically when I realized I wasn't free. And what was interesting about that revelation was it took a song for me to question. if I was free, because otherwise I don't have a reference point. So I think a lot of our Indians, we don't have a reference point of what freedom looks like. We're so used to being subjugated and under domination, occupation, and we just can't. It's like our brain is like we're not capable of knowing what freedom is. Well, my wake-up call happened for some reason. There it was, the Nina Simone song. I wish I knew what it's like to be free. And it started to play on my head. I'm like, what does she mean? What do you mean you wish you know? We know what it's like, don't we? And then a floodgate opened. I began to ask myself, well, how do I know that I know what freedom is? And the answer was clear. I don't know. I hear her singing about it, but I don't know that I've ever had it, especially living as a person of color. Because in that moment, what freedom meant to me was that I can walk around and not have to feel like I'm looked at as some kind of stranger or someone that doesn't belong here. It actually takes away from your freedom. That's what the song made me see it this way. And I don't know if I could explain it, but I realized I'm not free because every year there's a slave movie telling me that I was a slave. And so I'm not even free to have a mind that only knows freedom because these damn slave movies. And then it makes you see that, well, aren't I still being sort of seen a certain way based on this slave past? So can I really be free? Like, for instance, the way I see a Caucasian being free. A Caucasian, I started to equate an easier life with being free. When I say easier, I mean more means to just the freedom to spend a whole lot of money at one time and not feel like, oh, oh, now I can't get groceries. Oh, now I can't pay the rent. Oh, now I can't pay this bill because I bought something like nice for myself. I just felt that I, that's a freedom that I would like to have, the freedom to spend freely, you know, and not worry. I've seen it, I've seen people, I don't know where I was, but maybe it was a movie. I don't know, maybe it was, but someone just dropped like $1,000 or somewhere, and we're at some kind of educational or demonstration or class, and at the end of the class, you're told that, to get the full benefit, you'd have to pay the package, and people just do it without it. I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, this is where I end. Okay, it was nice while I was free, but then you see people just pull out $1,000, and I'm on board with this. Yes, I want to take this course, and I want to join this, and I want to get the training, and blah blah blah. Like, well, I'm going to have to save for another day. Economic freedom, freedom to walk and not be afraid of seeing a cop or feel intimidated by the appearance of a cop. Not free, not free from all of that. Freedom to not, look like a criminal every time you go into a luxury store. Freedom to, like I said in one of my videos, catch a taxi. But so freedom became a lot of things, but namely, now that I know that I'm indigenous, American Indian, now I understand why my life has been so curtailed. It's like there's a fence around me that just keeps getting smaller. That it's never going to change. And what would it take for it? You know, at that time, I didn't know what was going on. I just know that, okay, this, for some reason, this race that I am, it presents a problem. But now I know why. So I ask Indians, do we want to continue to get scraps off the master's table? Or do we want to tell this fraudulent master, look, that's my table. These are my chairs. That's my food. You're wearing my clothes, spending my money in my house. I don't need your scraps. I need you to know your place. And the only way you're going to know your place is after I take mine. If I continue to allow you to bully me and take my profits, I will never know what true freedom is all about. So let's continue. Pontificate minute. The video becomes a 9-hour video. Okay, fair use.
Oh. Who's gonna do something about it? Congress? No, it's our job. We've got to hold their feet to the fire. You can't do it if you don't know the Constitution.
Okay, there's our video. The enumerated powers, what Congress can and cannot do by constitutional studies. Okay, if you want to check out his channel. And we're going to move right to the next video. Now, this video talks about a certain group of people, but we got to understand that this is still, and Anna would say it and not cringe or flinch when she says, who owns this corporation? It's a crown corporation, right? So this man, he kind of leaves it like broad, but we know who's in charge of the corporation. It's not just a random group of people. They're working for a nobility. So we're going to just watch this video and just, oh, I love that. Get the hell out of my city. That's what Lightfoot was told. Anyway, we're going to hear what he has to say and take what we can from it. I don't think he's pinning the tail on the donkey in terms of spelling out who these people are working for, but he does have something to say about it. So fair use once again. And I think after this, we will close. I know it's going to be a lengthy one, but let's hear what he has to say. This is, okay. Again, this is Hillsdale College channel. Okay, America's anti-constitutional ruling class, Constitution 101. Fair use, and let's just hear what he has to say.
Administrative state is anti-constitutional. It's the rule of the few for their own sakes, a distinct and insular class of people rather than a trained elite, corrupt and distant from the people whom they rule. The administrative state is openly hostile to the Constitution. It allows for myriad methods of policymaking. In reality, at the end of the day, it represents a return to pre-constitutional government. The administrative state today is, rather than the aristocracy that the progressives hoped it would be, simply an oligarchy. It's the rule of the few for their own sakes, a distinct and insular class of people rather than a trained elite, corrupt and distant from the people whom they rule. They're supported by a coterie of clientele groups who depend upon the modern administrative state for privileges and benefits. The average person in this system is systematically and fundamentally disenfranchised. Policy is not made for his benefit, and he is largely unable to control the machinery of the state. In sum, the administrative state is the antithesis of constitutional government and cannot even live up to the expectations of its progressive founders. The administrative state intrudes upon even the minutest aspects of people's lives. The federal government dictates the amount of water that you can have in your washing machine and in your dishwasher. The federal government dictates the content of the light bulbs that light up your house in the evening. They dictate the composition of the spouts on the gas can that you use to fill your lawnmower. They've determined that the ordinary gas can spout allows for too many fumes to escape. And so instead, they created a system which is all but impossible for the ordinary person to use and probably causes more spills anyway. The federal government dictates to the manufacturers of step ladders the angle at which the ladder must be placed when they test it for the sake of determining its weight rating. Meanwhile, we might note, the administrative state seems to be sincerely uninterested in performing the tasks that our founding fathers expected legitimate government to perform. Major cities have chronic amounts of unsolved murders, which they never seem to bother to get to in many cases. The city of Detroit discovered several years ago a backlog of thousands of unprocessed rape kits that took more than a decade to finish. The mayor of Portland, Oregon seems perfectly content to allow Antifa to take over the streets of the city and to enforce the laws themselves. And Portland is one of a number of examples of progressive cities on the West Coast, which also seem perfectly content to allow their cities to become mountains of drugs and human excrement. At the national level, our government, or at least much of our government, seems to be deeply unconcerned for maintaining our territorial integrity in the face of thousands, if not millions, of illegal immigrants coming into the country, and thus unconcerned with protecting the basic sovereignty of the United States. So that's another way that we can think about the anti-constitutionalism of the administrative state. That is to say, it inverts its priorities. It becomes intensely focused on things that legitimate government ought not to do, and it neglects the things that just government should do.
Okay, so there we have another video. Thank you. Hillside College, Hillsdale College. What I would say about that video is, once again, all those services that he said they provide, none of them are constitutional. We learned that from the video we saw before this one. There's 18 or 19 enumerated duties. The how much oil goes into a lawnmower tank or the angle of a ladder, that is not what we asked them to do. To tell us what kind of jabs to take, then that we have, that's not what they're asked to do. So this is what we have, an entity that's already, we're coming at them and we don't even realize everything they're doing is more than what they're supposed to. And so it helps us to not see why we can't rock with this. They're taking power as we speak. Going in under them is only giving them more. Someone has to stand up and be head of the household, and it can't be a corporation. I'm sorry. We have the right. Look at the 2 videos, or even the 3 that we just looked at, explaining that they've already overstepped their bounds. Why are we giving them more power? We should be rolling it back first by taking our sovereignty immediately, And the thing is, they're not even supposed to interfere with all of that. We can take as much time as we need. We're not doing anything wrong by governing ourselves and deciding how we're going to do it. So this is our third installment of what I thought was going to be a 2-video series, but now it looks like it's going to be a 4-video series since I didn't get. Oh, well, there is one thing I could play from Anna that I would like to play. Let's hear what. Yeah, we will end on Anna actually, but this is a short 5-minute video, and then we'll say adieu and thank you for watching. Okay, let's hear Anna. She's really she really lays it out pretty darn good. So here we go. Anna writes. Anna Von writes, and she's going to talk about. Well, it's just, what is it called? What video is this? I forgot what. Okay, it's it's an introductory. She's talking about the American State Assembly. So Indians, as we watch this, what I'm thinking is we would have what did I just do? A similar model. Now we don't have to do it the state assembly way or the state national way, but definitely we're going to be doing this for Indians. You know what I'm saying? So this is why it's so good to learn from what sovereignty looks like. We don't know what it looks like because the government is so busy doing itself that we don't know how to do us, and they don't make it, they don't, they're not trying to have us do it. So let's hear what Anna has to say. Fair use once again, and introducing for a second time, Miss Anna Von Wright. Oh, we don't have sound. What happened to our sound? This doesn't make sense. Okay, clearly something has happened with our sound. Don't know why I'm not hearing her. I didn't put the sound down, unless I did by mistake. No, it's at 100, right? And I played this video earlier. Don't know. This is very strange. I don't know why we can't hear her. Okay, this is very, very odd. Apologies. I don't know why I don't hear her. The speakers are on, definitely. But she's not on. Okay, what I'm gonna see if I can this is, huh. This is very different. Okay, I don't know why she's not playing. Let me try closing and reopening.
The American States Assembly
There we go. Fair
is
use.
a gathering of the states of the Union, the actual states of the Union that are geographically defined. And most of us have always thought of our states that way. But it's not the only way to think of states. There are, for example, states of states, which are not geographically defined. So I want to draw that distinction for you right now, right here. We're talking about the geographically defined states of the Union, and that is what we are assembling. We're assembling the actual people, the living, breathing people of the different states to create the state government of the people. This hasn't been done in 150 years. We do know how to do it. We do know what's correct. And it's of great importance that we do this now and take control of situations that have gotten out of hand. So my first message to those coming to this website is, this is a website that is devoted to assembling the actual, factual, geographically defined states of the Union, and it is a job that can only be accomplished by living, breathing people acting as lawful persons. Now, what's a lawful person as opposed to a legal person? A lawful person is essentially your doing business name that you are given by your parents when you first entered this world. So it's your trade name. It's the name that you grew up with as a child in grade school, upper and lower case, first, middle, last. That's your lawful person. And we are gathering the lawful persons, which together as a group are known as the people of each state. And I want you to also recognize that it is the people of each state who are represented in the national constitutions. So you are organizing the people of the state in order to enforce the Constitution and to conduct business which has to be done. It's a very serious responsibility. It isn't easy. Because you have been misidentified as U.S. citizens of one type or another, you will need to do some paperwork, and you will need to reclaim your birthright political status and your heritage as American state citizens or American state nationals. Now,
Indians are higher.
What's the difference between an American state national and an American state citizen? A state national owes no obligation or duty to a government. The government owes its obligation and duty to the state national. American state citizens are the ones who take the additional step to participate in the state government and to undertake the duties of the state government, which may be being a juror in the jury pool, or being an elected official, or being a hired officer, a member of the militia. Whatever your responsibility that you're taking on behalf of your state, you are acting as a state citizen in that regard. So those are your two choices. We're encouraging everyone
Besides American Indian.
And that means anybody who isn't actually a federal, civilian, or military employee to undertake the effort it takes to reclaim your status as an American and to join your state assembly and help reassemble, restore, affirm, and enforce the government that you are owed, which is a government of the people, by the people, for the people, not of the persons, for the persons, and by the persons, which is the capacity in which all U.S. citizens are acting. I hope that you will join us. I hope that you will take time to protect yourself and your family. I hope that you will consider taking a more active role in self-governance, which is what we're actually required to do in this country. I hope that we'll accept the responsibility that go with the rights that our ancestors owned and which they earned. And I hope that you will consider joining your state assembly and being active in your state assembly from now on.
Thank you, Anna Rice. And thank you. Uh-oh. Okay. Okay, so is now my picture not doing the electric boogie? How do I make this big? Big, 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 big. Oh, I have to stop sharing my screen. Okay. All righty. So, oh, you can make, oh, wait a minute. Oh, I could be bigger and better. Oh, look how tired I was. I was dozing off, y'all. I'm tired. Okay, so I think we could actually stop sharing the screen now. That's what I wanted to share this evening after my long ass pontification. Sorry about that. But now it's just about helping the Indian to really reclaim true sovereignty. We don't want a knockoff jump off because it will slowly lead us back into another inferior. It's like going from being black to being colored, mulatto. You know, the same thing with the federally recognized, you know, the Cherokee Nation. They're all in shackles. No, apparently there are no sovereign Indians in America. There's only creations of the corporation, and once the corporation creates you and molds you and shapes you, you are now not a real, true pre-colonial Indian. You are still a colonized Indian because we still insist on believing that we have to go to by federal laws. Federal laws are only for commerce on the high seas. The only thing is the government pulled us all into a sea jurisdiction so that it can tax us as well. And the funny thing is, the corporations are the ones getting all the breaks, right? Not the people, the men and women that have a whole constitution from 1787 that made them completely sovereign after they fought a revolution to become sovereign. What do we have? We have the BS, right? Yeah, that's my back support. Think sovereign. Imagine sovereignty, true freedom. And we go back, in other words, we couldn't, if we keep playing games, we're never going to really be respected by the other people of the land. Now, once we go to a top position, that will cut half of the mass, what do you call it, mass programming in half. Like, we go from being Black folks that are just treated like crap to the position that's true authority, true sovereignty. What's required to reverse what was done to us is our full sovereignty, not a please, master, please make me a Indian in your creation, in your world. Can I please be an Indian? That's what we would be doing. We tell them no. You are in my world. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's the truth. Even Anna, the lady we just watched, she's a pilgrim and she's not trying to have this crap. So it's not terrorism. It's people that are looking at the Constitution, but they don't want to come interface as subjects to a corporation. They are the primary. And the Indian is like the super duper supreme authority on the land. That's what we want. That's what would make this all worthwhile. That's what would be worth fighting for. And now, if we're fighting for something that's inferior, it's the appearance of having something, but really you kissing the corporation's ass yet again. So anyway, on that note, I am practically sleeping right now. I feel like my eyes are just like somebody pull the shades down. Oh, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned as much as I learned. And really, my videos are, I feel like for me, they do help me to put myself in that wavelength. You know, it's almost like I'm pep talking myself, you know, because even I need this message. You know, it's just that I'm learning it and I get it. It's just that, you know, you still have to step into it even more fully, you know. So to stepping into our sovereignty more fully, may it be a wonderful and glorious permanent thing. And I thank you again for watching. I wish you peace, health, wealth, joy, happiness, sovereignty, your land back, your identity back, and all, excuse me, I was trying to get through it without doing that, and all the good things. Thank you again for watching. Until next time, I think we will say good night for now. Peace. Peace.